As per usual, we welcome. Sorry. It's one of those mornings. It's one of those mornings. We welcome our very good friend, David Hain. He's an internationally certified addictions counselor. And David joins us every Tuesday morning around this time where we talk about topics around addictions. And in this particular series, we are looking at the families of addicts and all the issues affecting you guys who are really, it's difficult and who are struggling under the pressure. So we're just trying to bring you a bit of relief. But as always, as I always say, and Dave and I, you know, that we love the addict. So if you're in active addiction at the moment, no matter what it is, we love you. God loves you even more, and that we are here for you.
Amen.
There we go. And that amen comes from
Amen.
David Hain. It's good to see you, man. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here again.
Lovely stuff. So you've been, well, what has been the response after these features, where when you leave, what has been the response from people out there?
Yeah, it's interestingly consistent. It's always, every week, between 15 and 20 new families contact me. And if I did some quick demographics, probably better than 3/4 of the people contacting me are moms, concerned about a son in his late 20s, early 30s. That tends to be the typical one, but I've had spouses, I've had grands, I've had children themselves, and it's covering all addictions as far as the contacts that are coming through. And in many, many of the cases, it's also covering troubled marriages as a result. What's also interesting is that, you know, I stay in Fishhook, and I think this is our 5th week now. So if you do the math, 15 or 20 a week would mean I've gotten 60 to 80 families that have contacted me so far. Only one from the Fishhook Valley.
Okay, okay.
So all the rest are from the Cape Flats and up in the northern suburbs.
Okay. Now, we just want people to know that David Hain is not a fly-by-night. David has been doing this for many years. Just want to give those people listening for the first time, Dave, just a bit of background as to who David Hain is, and also from Addict to Disciple, what that organization is about, if you can do it in about a minute.
Okay, I sure can. I'm an internationally certified advanced alcohol and drug counselor. I've been certified in all types of addictions, both process addictions and substance addictions, and have a ministry here called From A to D, which is from Addict to Disciple. And I've got my doctorate in Christian counseling from seminary, and been doing this for more than 20 years with over 30,000 addicts and their families in prisons and in the communities, in schools, wherever. And our curriculum, I've written 2 books. One is called From Addict to Disciple, and the other one is called The Heart of an Addict. And those books are curriculum in several prisons here in South Africa and other countries around the world too.
And if people are out there considering starting support groups for families of addicts or even addicts themselves, these books can be used, and they can get these books from you?
Very much so. They can contact me, and we can get the books out to them in any quantity they need. And I also make myself available to train people in churches or in the community to be able to hold groups, to be able to implement a proactive approach to this spiritual battle of addiction.
Okay. Now, Dave and I, we kind of having informal chats about us coming out to the community to a venue. We will have an information session. Dave also mentioned about a workshop, and I have been receiving inquiries about that. But it's something that Dave and I will chat about again, and also just along with the radio station, seeing that we use the platform and then informing everybody about this.
Yeah, that'd be great. And possibly if we could utilize the secretarial services of CCFM, if any of the listeners would be interested in a Saturday morning workshop here at CCFM, if you could just call in and leave your name and contact details so that we can get a list started and utilize that then to determine if this is the right venue and
Okay.
how many people become.
Okay, so we will get back to people with regards to just confirming all those details. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. I know that there is a need and a definite interest. Now, Dave, we've been chatting about a couple of topics and questions being asked by families of addicts, and I'm just going to quickly recap. It's about enabling the addict in your family, making the changes to stop the enabling. Ask the family member asking, am I really powerless to change the addict in my family because you kind of always fix things in the past? How do I deal with my grief and bitterness as a result of the addict's choices and actions? Last week we spoke about what if I can never forgive the addict or ever trust them again? How do I learn to forgive and trust? Now, we've had many SMSs, we've had many phone calls, and people just reaching out for help. And if you want to do that this morning, a couple of SMSs have come through already, 083 788 9494. If you have any questions for Dave, you're more than welcome to send them through right now. The phone line is also open. You can give us a call on 021 788 9494, 021 788 9494. Now, Dave, I'm going to just pick up this call and to see if we have a caller. Yes, we do. Good morning.
Good morning, Jerry. It's Maureen speaking.
Hello, Maureen. Turn on your radio, please, Maureen.
Sorry, man. May I speak to Dave, please?
Yes,
Sure,
she's
I'm
listening.
here.
Yes. My name is Maureen. I have a 15-year-old grandson, okay? The father's not there for him, the mother passed on, so I'm the one, that cares for him. But now recently, about a month ago, he just acts so strangely. He didn't go to school now one day last week. He just do all kinds of things that's not appropriate. And I was just wondering whether I should take him for a test. I don't know if that is going to be, my solution, but I was just thinking, is it the right thing that I'm going to do, to take him for a test?
Yeah, I think there's no problem at all to take him for a test.
Yes.
I think as you hold the conversation, the key up front is to affirm him, to let him know that you love him, that you care for him, that you are doing this because you care for him, and then state the things that you're observing, the changes in behavior, the changes at school, and why that is concerning to you. And then from there say, I'm listening though, can you explain what you think is going on?
All right.
And then let him speak, see if you're getting denial and blame shifting and things like that, or if he's going to be honest with you. But then be very deliberate in these are the steps that we need to take in order to go forward. And if he is still in school, I would definitely include at least a teacher or the principal or someone from the school, because they've probably seen a whole lot more changes than even you're aware of at this point.
True. Yes. Thank you so much, Dave.
Okay, you're
Be
welcome.
blessed, eh?
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. There we go. 021 788 9494. If you have any question for Dave and you want to engage with him on air, you are more than welcome to do so. A couple of SMSs coming in. You can send through those SMSs now, 083 788 9494. Now, Dave, let's just jump in here. How do I deal with the addict's verbal abuse, mood swings, anger, threats, and physical abuse? This is a big one.
Yeah, very big one. And I think the key that I want to say right up front is that all verbal abuse is abuse. It hurts you emotionally. It can lead to physical ailments in you. It can lead to emotional ailments in you and other illnesses. And so no one deserves even verbal abuse. So I don't want to minimize verbal abuse and maximize physical abuse, because both are damaging. And I think we need to realize that with an addict, all of this stuff, and if I use verbal abuse as just the catchphrase all the time, all of this abuse, it's about manipulation and power and control. So if the addict is blame shifting onto mom or gran or what have you in this case, he's doing it to keep you on the defensive. Because if I'm attacking you, all of a sudden you feel you need to defend yourself and explain that, no, you don't have the problem.
Right.
So the addict is manipulating to take the focus off of himself and keep you on the defensive. And eventually what happens, I see from the victims of abuse, their self-esteem gets lowered and lowered and lowered and lowered. And in Proverbs it says that anxiety in the heart causes depression. And so as this person's self-esteem is getting lowered and they're getting more and more worried about their loved one and the situation that's going on, depression can be one of those things that comes out as an ailment in the victim of the abuse.
Right. Now, when wanting to stop abuse and you kind of go into this defense mode, it can become volatile. How do you minimize the potential volatilities of physical action against you as the person wanting your loved one just to stop doing drugs?
Yeah. I think the key is to realize that you don't need to get involved in an argument, and that at any time it becomes an argument, it's going to head to verbal abuse. The addict will get aggressive. The addict will escalate in their emotions. And so as the non-addict in the family, take charge. You're the one who can say, time out, this discussion's over. I was hoping for a discussion. It's becoming an argument, and I'm just not going there. In most cases, the non-addict is the one who's paying the bills, paying the rent, putting the food on the table, keeping a roof over the addict's head. So you are in control.
What are you saying, really?
I'm saying that as a victim, don't be a victim. Allow yourself to say, this is my house, and these are my expectations, and I'm not going to get involved in name-calling. I'm not going to get involved in shouting or arguing. And so when it starts, I'm ending it. I'm ending it. We're not going to go to where it escalates, and then you as the addict slam the door and walk out, and you stay in control.
At some point, you when they slam the door behind themselves, you kind of have to lock the door for them not to come back in again. And that is one of the hard things to do.
Yeah, it's difficult to lock the door. It's even more difficult to change the locks on the door. But there are times when it needs to get to that point also, because the addict will only come back in and steal.
Right.
So you do need to make some tough decisions, and one of those tough decisions is, have we reached a point where living under the same roof is not the best option for the addict or for anyone else in the home?
Well, now, all the topics that and the questions we've been asking, and the more I listen to you every week, Dave, and the more I see the SMSs and the kind of questions coming through, everything is kind of interlinked with regards to enabling, and I know you're not in favor of this phrase, tough love, but in terms of drawing the line and putting a boundary in place and maintaining it, because a lot of this, and I think, and this is where verbal abuse, the anger, the threats, the physical abuse, where the danger becomes even more pronounced, is that when that boundary has to be maintained.
Yeah, I think that's a big one.
How do we do that safely?
Well, I would talk about multiple boundaries. So I'll say boundaries and expectations. Okay? Right up front, once the verbal abuse is present in the home, then boundaries should be set for future conversations. It can be as simple as, we're not holding conversations like this in front of the children. We're not holding conversations like this if you and I are home alone. I need someone here to ensure that I'm safe and I feel safe. So I would say right up front to set boundaries on the conversations, where they're going to take place, how they're going to take place, in whose presence they're going to take place. And to remember, even as you set boundaries, that you cannot change the addict. You cannot change the abuser, but you can change your reaction and your reactions. So begin to evaluate, how have you been reacting to this abuse in the past? And so for me, set expectations from this point forward. And these expectations need to be clear. They're expectations about the relationship you have with the addict. You know, the lady who just called, you are my grandson and I'm raising you as a mom. You know, these are the things I expect from a son and from a grandson. These are the things I expect from a teenager in my home in order for us to have a functioning relationship. So set out the expectations, make sure they're clear, make sure the addict repeats them back to you in their own words so that you know you have agreement. And once the expectations have been set and agreed upon, then set clear consequences that can be immediate and consistent.
Now, it all sounds clean and clinical, the way you're explaining it there, Dave. But in reality, and I've had some experiences, in reality it doesn't work like that. The situation can very quickly escalate out of control. It can be thrown back in your face, and you kind of left there feeling stupid, and you feel disrespected. Also, and let me just zoom in on one particular addiction that I'm aware of that causes violence, is the tick addiction.
Very much so.
And how do people and families and moms and grandparents deal with that kind of reaction from a tick addict? Because that is a lot of times in that kind of addiction that people become violent and they become threatening, and they basically just want to do their own thing.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
I think right up front, be sure you're safe. And you cannot let your hope and your desire or your memories of how this used to be a good boy when he was 8 or 10 years old and it was fun to watch him play football, don't hark back on the past. Understand that Hosea 4:11 says that harlotry wine and new wine enslave the heart. So as an addict, you're dealing with someone whose heart has been enslaved by the enemy. So don't expect the same things out of them that you saw when they were an innocent child. And so because of that, you need to make sure that you are safe. So involve someone else. Involve a social worker. Involve a caseworker. Involve a pastor. Involve a professional counselor or interventionist. Or involve the police. You may need to be at the point where, depending on the threats or the physical abuse, where you need to get an interdict against the addict. But by all means, when you involve someone, let them know right up front, hey, I've been soft in the past. I make my own threats back at the addict saying, if you do this one more time, but then I always soften up and I never follow through. So please help me follow through.
Okay. I want to take your SMSs, 083-788-9494. And you can also call me in studio right now, 021-788-9494. As per usual, my guest after 10:10 every Tuesday is David Hain. He's an internationally certified addictions counselor. He deals with all kinds of addictions. So we're also looking at topics affecting families of addicts. And at this point, we always say that if you're in active addiction, we love you and we want you to help you, and we want God to put your broken heart and your soul back together again, and He can do that. It's up to you to allow Him to do that. 021-788-9494 if you want to speak to Dave. Now, Dave, this is a very long SMS I received from Joe, and from what I can see is that her grandson has been to a couple of rehabs, has also been to prison, was at Victory Outreach, was also working with Teen Challenge, was also at Falkenberg. But this morning, they found 5 packets of dacha in the letterbox, and he tested positive. So they would not help him, and this is his last chance.
Yeah, and that's a very typical thing where addicts are either bouncing from one place to another for help, often leaving early, not completing the programs where they go for rehab. And that couldn't be that they're just going because they've gotten a threat from their parents or from their spouse or what have you. So they go sort of to silence that barking dog and just to placate them a little bit. So the number of places that he's been does not surprise me, and the fact that he's been in and out of prison doesn't surprise me. One of the things that people always say is, well, maybe he'll hit rock bottom and he'll be okay.
Right.
Well, for so many of us looking from the outside, addicts have rock bottom wake-up calls every day or every week.
Yes.
And the problem is when that comes with alarm and shame and guilt and fear, their drug of choice medicates that.
That's right.
So we can't keep waiting for rock bottom. I think one of the keys, and our counseling is built on the fact that addiction is a spiritual battle. It's a war made up of many battles. And of the 30,000 addicts that I've worked with, all of them have had a wound of the heart, an emotional wound, rejection, abandonment, feeling unloved, feeling like they're not good enough, whatever it might be. And that is the wound that they are self-medicating. That is the wound they're numbing and trying to escape. And until that wound gets revealed by God and healed by God, this young man and anyone in addiction is susceptible to relapse, because the enemy will keep knocking on that door and stirring up that old wound.
Okay, we'll be paying the bills quickly. We're taking your SMSs on 083-788-9494, or you can give us a call right now, 021-788-9494. You may remain anonymous. And this week we're asking the question, how do I deal with the addict's verbal abuse, mood swings, anger, threats, and physical abuse? And something I want to add in there, and it might not, well, everything is sort of interlinked for me when we talk about these topics. My disillusionment when I am threatened in a situation like this, and kind of, where is God? Am I really protected in this situation? So coming back with that, just going to pay the bills. Good morning.
Danneberg Optometrist is offering the latest in digital varifocal lenses in a package deal valued at 1,860 Rand. Clear, comfortable lenses that are easy to adapt and affordable. The package includes hard-coated lenses that are scratch-resistant, a frame valued at 750 Rand, and a full eye exam. Danneberg Optometrists for the latest in fashionable eyewear, where friendly professional service meets great value. 31 Blackenberg Road, Belleville, 021-949-4159. Sale ends 31 March 2014. T's and C's apply. The mid-morning snack that gets you from breakfast to lunch, engaging all your senses. The 9 to 12 show with Jeremy van Wyk.
And joining me in studio is internationally certified addictions counselor David Hain, and he's with me every Tuesday 10 past 10, taking your SMSs on 083-788-9494, as well as your calls on 021-788-9494. Now, Dave, before we look at the question of disillusionment with God in these situations, especially when you feel physically abused, and is God really going to protect me? Because that stems from fear, and it can kind of put your life at risk without sounding overly dramatic. This can be a dangerous situation.
Yes.
We just go back to the SMSs. Continue families of drug abusers. I need help from a doctor, a psychologist, a counselor, from an addict who found recovery in NA, and from God, your addict. So, you know, I don't know what the person is asking you.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can go to the doctor, we can go to the psychologist, we can go to the counselor. But this is my belief. It's not the view of this radio station or David Hain's view, that until you as the addict are prepared to stop, we can go from pillar to post, and we're not going to get the desired results until we in our heart purpose to stop.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And the question I would put into that is, while our heart is enslaved, how do we get to that point where we purpose in our heart to stop? And that's the difficulty of this spiritual battle. Anyone in addiction can pause. You know, we can change our behavior, we can stop our acting out for some period of time, and that's why rehabs, are popular. Because people can go away for 28 days or longer and come back and maybe be good for 3 to 6 months. And I'm not bad-mouthing rehabs. They do a lot of good work.
Yes.
But the key is getting to that point where your heart is free, so you can truly purpose in your heart to stay free.
Right. And that is the only way, according to me.
I agree with you.
Will help.
I agree with you.
Let's be honest about this, because addiction, it's killing people. People are burning. People are on their way to hell because of addictions. And I think we need to step up to the plate and do what God requires us to do. Let's just go to the phone line once again. Good morning, CCFM.
Hello, it's Clarence again.
Hello, Clarence. How are you?
I like to make you laughing, but today we're going to be on a serious
Okay,
note.
but Clarence, before we get serious, you need to turn down your radio, okay? There we go.
In general.
That's my man.
Ma'am, I got a daughter that is really been giving me and my wife a tough time. And then it was child number 1, and then it was child number 2. And I've listened to the program. I'm always in tune. You know that.
Right, I do.
But what happened is, what I've discovered is that, I've studied her. I always like to do something out of the normal. And I've studied her. And, the serious part is that we try everything. And my wife used to say, man, she heard some voices from other people, how they go about to pray and all that. Don't nag on her head. I said, but when I find myself, then I find myself back where I'm having concern because it's just natural. I'm just a father. But it got to me, and some people would say, but you're falling off and what's happening? And I wouldn't open up. And in the meantime, I trusted the Lord. I prayed, and I mentioned her name. And then what I've discovered, that I use my psychology that she's using on me now. The mother is fine. But when it comes to me, she's on my case constantly because I'm on her case. Because it's not about her anymore for me. It's about the two children. And then I used my psychology and I thought to myself, Lord, and I said, give me wisdom. And I used the two children and I said, this is your responsibility. And if you're not going to do this and that, and you stop. She used to tell me that, are you training me? Because she used to walk this way and that way. And in no time she found me driving around this way with the car. And I said, okay, no, I'm not telling you. I'm just checking. I'm just concerned about the children, man. Because obviously the children is with you, so why can't I see where's the children? And I use that, and I tell you, it's working slowly, but surely. Because she can feel the pins the moment she deals with me, or the moment she's nasty. And then I distance myself for a week. And then she will phone, Daddy, are you going to fetch my child at school and all that? I said, no, I'm too busy. I haven't got time now. That is your responsibility. I can't do that. Daddy would love to do it. But sometimes you stop me from doing it. I would love to do it.
Okay. Clarence,
I tell you, it works like a bomb.
Okay, let's just see what...
It works for me. I don't expect it to work for everybody. But I use the psychology that the pins that she had on me, I give it back to her.
Okay. Let's hear what David has to say.
Yeah, Clarence, thanks for your input there. And it's always interesting when the addict is a mother or a father themselves with children, because that tugs on the grandparent's heart in a different way. And so I think the key is not to allow the children to be pawns in a chess match between you and your daughter, that the children actually feel that they're being tugged back and forth and back and forth. But I think what you're doing is good. You're letting the addict know that, hey, you may be using, but you're a parent. And as long as you're a parent, you have responsibility. And I would even follow that up by saying, if you fail in that responsibility because your addiction is your first love, and I need to take your children into my house, then that means your children are the people I'm raising, and there's not room for you in the same house, because I wouldn't have raised you in a home with an addict when you were young.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on this morning. 021-788-9494. And that is part of the battle. It is a war zone. And at some point, most of the time, you need to stand firm, and people need to feel the consequences of their actions, not because you're being nasty, but because they are killing themselves and they're taking everybody else, or at least trying to take everybody else down along with them, which is very dangerous. And I think that, in all fairness, to someone who is not in active addiction, they need to at least protect themselves from that.
Very much so. They need to protect themselves and do, as I was just saying, they're in charge of their home.
Right.
And too many parents and grandparents are afraid to say, when you were a kid, I would not allow addiction in this home.
Right.
And I would not allow people in here who were drunk, who were high, because I was responsible for your safety. Okay. And so that same thing still exists now.
Good morning, CCFM. Hello, good morning.
Hi there, how are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, thanks. I just want to mention a situation that I've been involved in, just to try to mentor a friend of mine who is a recovering drug addict, and been mentoring for the past 2 years or so, and not really seeing a sort of recovery in his life and his relationships. And just to perhaps open up a topic of discussion for the influence of addiction and the use of drugs and relationships, and how a relationship has brought him down. And just from my viewpoint, just the perception of how to carry on with that, I mean, it is draining on friends and families, etc. And how do you persevere? And if a person is rebelling and wanting to go through into another direction and really rebelling against his friends and against the godly viewpoints of what his friends are guiding him towards, how do you deal with that, or what approach would you take with that situation?
Okay.
Yeah, I think right up front, for me, mentoring and accountability relationships are for after an addict is established in their recovery, not while they're still trying to find their way into recovery, because addicts are the best liars and deceivers on the planet. They can sell you anything, and they try to sell you any line that comes out of their mouth. So often we force an addict into a mentoring or accountability relationship too early in their recovery, and it actually puts them on the defensive, because they begin to saying, well, if I told my mentor that I'm craving to use every day 10 times a day, they would probably want to send me back to rehab. If I told them I slipped and used last weekend, they would, get me arrested. So I think what's important is to surround the person who's trying to establish their recovery with other people who are further advanced in their recovery, or who've never been addicts, but who are leading the sort of godly life that would be good for them or that they aspire to. So it's really about changing their friends, who will stay their friends regardless of the up and down struggle that they're going through in establishing their recovery.
Because there will be up and downs.
There will be up and downs every week.
Okay, caller, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. Okay, bye-bye. 021-788-9494. You're more than welcome to call in now. Dave and I are taking your calls. I just want to go back to the SMSs. Good morning. I asked for prayer last week for my daughter. She's on tick and sleeping on the streets with the babies. Personally went to the welfare. She has to be there tomorrow. Please pray for strength for her and that the Lord will set her free. Thank you so much. Let's go to the lines again. Good morning.
Hello, CCFM. Good morning. My name is Estelle. I'm a recovering alcoholic. And my late son of 2.5 years, well, almost 3 years, he was an addict in recovery, and I'm in the rooms of Noranon still, because I realized I didn't go for the addict, but because of the addict. Are you there?
Yes, we're listening. Mm-hmm. We're listening.
Okay. So what has happened is that the rooms of Noranon, it's a total spiritual problem. Total. I've grown so close to God. And although my son has passed on, my defects of character I'm still working on, because Altered Attitudes Aid Recovery. And I was the one, you only saw the bottom part of the letter, open letter to my family from the drug user, from the addict. Because from the beginning it will tell you, don't fight with me, don't shout with me, I make empty promises because I've got this disease of addiction. However, this is a free support group, and it works for millions of people, and it's a spiritual program. I can only say to people, get onto the website, get to Noranon, and you will find all the answers, because you'll understand the disease of addiction, because it explains to you, and you will also have people in the support group telling you how they dealt with issues. It's the most wonderful program that God has given me. I know it for about 13 years, and I'm so grateful to God, and I pray every day that God will give, so everybody will see the opportunity to come in here, and many people are still doing it because they are passing the message on and helping life make life better for everybody else. So it's a free program. It's Noranon. It's for families and friends of addicts.
Okay, I need to stop you there. We can't promote the program because
No, but I'm telling you.
Okay, no, I hear you, and thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate the fact that you came on and just shared that with us. We really do appreciate it. But we can't allow you to give us contact details, unfortunately.
No,
but thank you so much for coming.
Just the thing is, do everything positive. It will work because God is positive.
There we go.
That's what I'm saying.
Ma'am, thank you so much for your call. God bless you.
Okay. Bless
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
There we go. Hi, I just want to thank God firstly for bringing my son home after being a drug addict since primary school. He's now 24 years. I need him to talk to a counselor. He speaks to me as mom, but who can he talk to as a professional? And will there be one in Goodwood or nearby area? Thanks. So, David, there is definitely a need, and you and I will meet in due time, and
Yes.
we'll bring details to air for people, just inform people. Hi, Jeremy. I'm Pastor Jean. I was rescued and restored from addict life by God's grace, but I need to use my testimony to save others. I need now a short training from Dave. How can I meet him? Okay. Jean or Pastor Jean, stay tuned. I'll be giving out Dave's details. How do I help an addict who is in denial, Dave?
Well, understand that all addicts are in denial at almost every day. And the key is you cannot change their denial for them, but you can continue to put hope in there. You can continue to cast a vision to say, things can be better, but also don't sugarcoat the negatives that you see. Be able to say, I am concerned, and here are the things that I'm seeing. And you may hear from the addict, that once you confront them, they're going to deny even further.
Right.
But if you say it calmly and say, look, you've lost your job. You haven't been able to hold a job. You've lost 20 kgs. You hardly bathe anymore. Your personal hygiene has gone horrible. You're not involved in any activity. You lost all your friends. Begin to just state those things. And you may need to call in a counselor who can come and do an intervention to be able to state those things for you in a way that, the addict may hear.
Okay. I want to go to one of our last SMSs for the segment, Dave. Unfortunately, good morning. I'm Jeanette. I would like to know if I can make an appointment. People asking for an appointment with you, Dave. Jeanette, please stay tuned. I will be giving out Dave's details at the end. That's a couple of minutes from now. Thank you for answered prayers. I want to thank all prayer friends for praying for me and my family. God is helping us. Okay, that's just a compliment coming in. Thank you so much, Sandy and Terence. We really appreciate your support. In closing, Dave, let's just kind of quickly look at the disillusionment that someone would feel as a family member of someone caught in active addiction, in terms of when they need to set the boundaries, when they need to maintain the boundaries, and they come under physical threat.
Yeah, I think the disillusionment is my prayers have gone unanswered. My prayers have gone unanswered. I've been praying for a decade for God to rescue my son, to rescue my spouse, and the addiction just seems to continue to escalate. And I think for me, that's one of the keys of knowing right up front that, for me, this is not a disease. This is a spiritual battle. It is war. John 10:10, the enemy comes to rob, kill, and destroy. And to know that the promise of God is he will never leave us. He will never forsake us. So he is there for the addict, and he is there for the addict's family. And we just need to be able to lean into him, but also make sure that we surround ourselves with a godly support system who can be praying with us and encouraging us.
Okay, there we go. Thank you so much, Dave. Dave is an internationally certified addictions counselor. He's worked with over 30,000 addicts in his career, and he's also heading up From Addicts to Disciple, and that is from a2d.com. Dave, give us your contact telephone numbers, please.
My landline is 021-782-1117. My mobile is 073-065-0999, and you can find me on WhatsApp and Facebook and Twitter.
Okay, there we go. Thank you so much, Dave. We will be back next week at 10:10. I will also be forwarding Dave, some of these SMSs for you guys asking for an appointment with him. Really appreciate your time. We'll see you back next week. God bless.
Thanks, Jeremy. God bless you.